Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the AskIoT video series from IoT for All, the number one publication and resource for the Internet of Things. I'm your host, Ryan Chacon. Before we get into it, would you mind clicking the like button, the thumbs up button, and subscribing to our channel if you have not done so already? We truly appreciate it. All right, on today's episode, we have Tad Scarpelli, the CEO and president of Field Theory Consulting Incorporated. They are an antenna customization and RF integration company providing full RF solutions to companies in the wireless electronics industry. And we talk about antennas. We talk about why they are just not another component in an IoT solution, the role and the importance of the antenna in IoT, how to ensure you have the right antenna for your device, for your solution, advice for picking the best one, and then also what happens if you do not pick the correct one. So all very important information on a topic that I know we haven't had a chance to talk a lot about, but Field Theory does an excellent job with what they do, and Tad kind of provides some fantastic insights that I think you get a lot of value. So hope you enjoy this episode of the Ask IoT video series with Tad Scarpelli. Welcome, Tad. Thanks for taking time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ryan.
Absolutely. Let's kick this off by having you give a quick introduction about yourself and the company for our audience.
So I'm Tad Scarpelli. I'm an RF engineer. I started my career as an engineer a little over 20 years ago. I was the antenna engineer at Motorola doing GSM cell phones and 3G phones before I left the company. Started Field Theory up about 14 years ago. And we basically do consulting for a lot of different RF projects and antenna designs. We do anything from custom designs to semi-custom designs and integrating some of our reference designs into products. Field Theory's got a very vast engineering team here. We got 3 RF antenna engineers and a mechanical engineer and then 2 other support staff. We design mostly IoT devices lately, but we've done a lot of government projects and so forth. Field Theory's got a complete RF lab here with 2 antenna chambers and 2 simulation stations.
That's awesome. I know the focus of our conversation today is really to shed light on why the antenna is not just another component and needs to be thought about in a different way. So, as that is sort of a question, let me ask it in a different way. But from your perspective, why is the antenna, or why should the antenna be thought more in depth about when it comes to building a product, and why is it not just another component but something that has a very large level of importance when it comes to designing, building, and launching IoT devices?
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the bigger problems we do see in IoT devices is people kind of look at it as just this component that needs to connect up to a module or something, and it's just going to magically work. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, a lot of people hear antennas being and RF being black magic. Well, antenna is very much the final component to all that. And if the antenna is not right, the entire matching that happens all the way back to the transceiver gets screwed up. And when that gets messed up, then you end up having lots of data throughput issues and range problems. So that the antenna is actually one of the most overlooked and most important part to any wireless device.
And to kind of expand on that, can you talk a little bit about the overall role and the importance of antennas in those devices, kind of what they do, why they do what they do, and why it's so important to really make sure you have the right one selected?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem that most products have is the antenna has to resonate at a certain frequency per the radio that it's lined up with. Mm-hmm. And if you're picking the wrong antenna, then there could be a mismatch that could cause that to be off. And when that's off, then that's when your device will start to fail.
So as a follow-up to kind of what you were just talking about around the antenna not just being another component, can you talk a little bit about why or what the role of antennas are in IoT devices and kind of the importance that they play?
Yeah, so the antenna is the link between device to device, right? Okay. And that link needs to be finely tuned between each other in order for the connection to happen properly. So when you have an antenna that's not on the right frequency, then it would end up degrading your performance per how much it's off. So the role of the antenna is the direct link between the 2 products. Okay. And it really comes down to why it's so important and the role that they carry.
Absolutely. And when you're working with customers, I'm sure you have pretty detailed conversations around how to ensure that they have the right antenna for the device, the solution that they're building. But But generally speaking, for those out there listening to this, what advice do you have on how to go about ensuring you have the right antenna for your IoT device?
Well, that's a process. It's a
Okay.
process we at Field Theory we really have finely tuned. Um, so a typical process for us is to make sure you got the right antenna is to do the upfront work with simulation and all that, and then in doing your next step would be the 3D printing and doing a prototype mock-up. Now, where you know that the testing that you need to do to make sure that this is all right is we have two antenna chambers here that basically give us the full parameters of how the antenna is performing in the IoT device itself. That'll give us information like the efficiency of the design and the gain, the radiation pattern, and stuff like that. And from that information that we get inside of our two antenna chambers, we're able then to take back to the bench and tweak it. And from there, we know we got the right performing and design.
Okay, great. And what happens if I guess, from your experience, if you ever encountered companies that have come to you maybe after they chose an antenna and it wasn't the right one for what they needed? Just I get as a guess at a high level, what happens if somebody chooses the wrong antenna? I think the idea here is to be able to show why it's so important to be thinking about antenna
Right.
design and the correct antenna so early on in your device's product kind of cycle.
Yeah. So two problems tend to happen where people realize they got the wrong design. Number one, they're going for like the Wi-Fi certification or a LTE certification or something like this, or even they're doing just range studies because they're getting some field returns that says, hey, I'm not able to connect to the device from one end of my house to the other end of the house, but it should be able to. But mostly it's around the time they go for certifications, and when they go, they get the data from the cert house, which costs a lot of money to do that testing. They find out that they're failing requirements, and at that point in time, a lot of companies reach out to us, and we've got the capabilities to do the OTA testing here. And if you choose the wrong antenna, then that is the risk you should take, is the product could be at risk, and
Hmm.
it's not going to perform well, or even worse, you're going to fail certification, can't ship.
Right. Okay. And what I guess for those out there listening to this and wanting to kind of get a better sense on how they can kind of get started with these types of discussions or what they should really be thinking about early on, what advice do you have for them?
Well, if you're looking at a wireless device, do your homework. That's number one. I mean, there
Yeah.
are some off-the-shelf design. There are off-the-shelf designs that make sense for your product, but test it as early as you can and as soon as you can. And if
Mm.
there's any signs of not meeting performance requirements, then you need to reach out to a professional like Field Theory, um, and get it done from a point where the performance can get fixed.
Right. Okay. And for our audience out there listening, what's the best way they can follow up and ask questions, learn more about what it is that you do, anything along those lines?
They can reach out to us on our website. We have a contact us link on that page where there's a small form they fill out. That gets sent in an email to myself, and Eunice and I will go through those emails and get back to people typically in under 24 hours.
Awesome. Well, Tad, thank you so much for taking the time to kind of answer this question, talk more about the importance of antennas in IoT devices and the role they play in the space. So, really appreciate it. And I think our audience is going to get a ton of value out of this.
All right. Thanks for your time, Ryan.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching that episode of the Ask IoT video series. I hope you found a lot of value in it. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps others find it and make sure that you get the latest episodes as soon as they become available. Other than that, if you have any questions or topics that you would like us to cover in this series, please leave them in the comments or shoot us an email at hello@iotforall.com. Other than that, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.